Welcome, everybody, to Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. Joining us again from the Draft Jesse movement is Richard Idriss. And I wanted to talk to you today because obviously it's a kind of seismic event of the Alaska Green Party putting him on the ballot is huge. And I know that, and we're going to get into this, and I want you to tell our audience about there's some deadlines coming up for them to be electors to get him in as a write-in candidate. So first of all, how has that changed your movement? Has it changed it in terms of strategy? And then also what upcoming deadlines in what states can people get involved?
Well, I would say mainly the Alaska boost was, for one, it got some more press attention back on the campaign. It also kind of opens up the possibility of Ventura making it on the polls, since he's going to get write-in access in California, given that's the big deadline that we're going to beat. And we'll talk about that soon. So in terms of our strategy, what it has also helped do is kind of wake Jesse up more to the possibility of this being the real deal. Because he always talked about wanting to get nominated by a party and use their ballot line. So the write-in option was always kind of the nuclear option in our view. So getting some party support back in the mix too is actually pretty huge for us.
And it's because I saw the interview he did, I forget what show it was, where he said, "Man, they just put me on the ballot with Cynthia McKinney in Alaska," which is like his reaction was like, "Oh wow," and all of us watching were like, "Just say you were going to run for president, is it right? Just do it. Just say it, Jesse.
So say you're gonna hop in now. You know,
just do it. We're all ready." So
instead, he's just like, "Wouldn't that kick ass?" Well, yeah, it would. It would kick ass. So
I know it is peculiar, and the question's been raised: is it because I know, like, I think maybe his wife or somebody close to him has had some health issues, and so. As you see it, who's somebody who's following this very closely, why do you think he hasn't why do you think he keeps sort of waiting, like, oh, like you said, the wording of "wouldn't that be cool" rather than "why don't you do it"? Or what do you, how do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, what we've heard through the grapevine is there are some folks close to him who are trying to encourage him to wait until 2024. We've also gotten his ear, though, because we're the reason why Ventura ended up speaking both at a Unity 2020 podcast as well as at the MPP. Melissa was really great about setting up the connections with Nick Brana and with the Unity folk to get him there. And it was one of our volunteers who Ventura came over to his place and they set up the tech to do the interview. It was, we've been working with the governor a bit, but he's a tough guy to reach, and he keeps his strategy close to chest.
Right.
So that's all that I can really say in regards to anything else. He has been interested, and I mean, we actually sent him one of those articles about him getting nominated in Alaska. It was a couple days before that interview got published with Garland Nixon. And so I'd like to think that he checked his fax machine one of those mornings and had a pleasant surprise from us waiting for him there.
Yeah, that was interesting. So we're talking, I know there's some deadlines coming up and because there's certain states just don't even allow write-in access. But what do we got coming up? I know California, there's some deadlines, and what needs to happen and what can people watching do?
Yeah, the main one right now is California because that one does not require signatures from any candidate. It's actually the only state, as far as I know, as far as approved write-ins go, where the electors themselves are the ones that nominate the candidate rather than the candidate starting the petition, basically. So we've always been collecting electors for other states, and we've been sending the information on to Jesse, trying to encourage him to sign the forms. We're hoping that getting California really quick here ahead of time might be the final kick in the rear to get him to enter the race, or to get him polling high enough that he's kind of forced to respond publicly, whether that's qualifying for a debate or just getting enough news coverage that a mainstream interview happens where they ask him the question point blank, right? Like, I think those sort of moments would be perfect to get out of this.
And then what else, since there's certain states that obviously don't allow write-in votes, has there been any talk or any rumor of any of those states like Green or even I could even see a Libertarian state party going, we're putting them on the ballot. Has there been any, have you gotten any indication like that from any of those states, indie parties?
Well, what I do know is that wheels have been turning in that regard, and folks are certainly speaking to that, to multiple state parties. I know there's some folks in the Green Party who are trying to raise a ruckus about that, that are actually independent of us, but help us out every now and then. There's a whole movement right now amongst the Green parties for some of them to separate and form a new party altogether. And so there's some folks trying to latch onto that momentum and get those parties to back us or Dario Hunter. Hopefully us. That'd be great.
Wow. Okay, because I was wondering, when that happened in Alaska, I bet you a bunch of other Green and probably Libertarian state parties went, wait a minute, why don't we do that here? So it's not surprising that those wheels are already in motion. So what then, so how can people specifically, what actions need to be taken in regardless, California or whatever states that you have coming up here?
Yeah, so in California, we're still recruiting electors. We need folks to fill out forms, and it's quite the process. So we've laid it out on the website. We actually have a page. If you go to the People for Jesse website and you go to the ballot access page, you'll see a link to a page with the forms and instructions for California. They make it a little bit more cumbersome than most states. I think it's part of the kick in the rear that we get because we get to nominate a candidate, so they have to make it hard for us in some other way. There's always a catch-22, right? We can't have real democracy. We gotta just breadcrumbs. No. We need a sham democracy. Yeah, you have to sign the form, but you have to sign it in front of a notary. But California is one of the only states that does not allow for online notary, and they did not change that for the pandemic. So you can get a mobile notary, so you can have someone come drive to your home and watch you sign a form, or you can go to like a UPS store or maybe your bank to get the form notarized. That's the bottleneck. So we're offering help with people with finding a notary, with mailing the letter out. We need a scanned copy, but we also have to send them directly to the Secretary of State's elections office. So we'll send folks the label once they give us proof that they've got a notarized form, just to mail it on out.
Okay, and what is the deadline for this?
We're hoping to get them in within the next couple of weeks. The deadline is in October, but the sooner the better, because if we can get out soon enough, it'll be on the voter information booklet. And depending on when the mass of ballots comes out, I think it's supposed to come out the first week of October. That's when people are going to start voting. So ideally, getting the coverage that we're an approved write-in vote before the beginning of October would be the best solution, be the best situation to be in. Okay.
And then what other states' deadlines are coming up?
Well, we're looking at New York as another one where we might need a number of signatures, but the reality is that we've been focusing on California because it's the one state where we don't need the candidate to sign the forms. We don't want folks to go out there and get a ton of electors, and then we're not able to guarantee that he gets ballot access in the state. So we did that for Texas and for Ohio, and we were not able to get him to sign the forms to confirm for those states in time. Despite having enough electors. So we didn't want that to keep happening. So strategically, we've pivoted towards focusing on California and trying to speak with other parties, get them involved. There's also enough write-in states to, there'll be 11 states if we get California. That's including Alaska, where Jesse would be a viable option and he'd be on the ballot in Alaska. And that's enough to create a hung election where no one gets 270. And that would punt it to the House and Senate to decide after January. So the incoming House and Senate would be the ones who decide. And my understanding is each state delegation gets one vote, so it's not per House member or per senator. So I don't know exactly how that would work out, but it would make things inconvenient for either the Dems or the Republicans.
And then obviously there's still this like wild card of, let's say, a state like Texas, where you said you weren't able to get him to sign. What if the Texas Green or Libertarian Party decided to just put him on the ballot? Then that's done, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we've got the pledged elector forms too. We also technically submitted them. So if Jesse does want to climb on board later, we might have there's always the potential for a case. Try and file some kind of injunction. I don't know the likelihood of it getting approved, but hey, they file lawsuits all the time to inconvenience independents. So why not flip the script a little bit?
Yeah, why not? Why not jam it up for them? Well, that's hilarious. All right, Richard, is there anything else that people should be aware of, or just basically go to Draft Jesse and fill out these forms and get them notarized, or any other actions anybody can take?
Yeah, I mean, keep following us on social media. Sign up for updates on the People for Jesse website. Our other main goal right now is we want to try and get attention around the Alaska nomination as well as what's going on here in California, because any mainstream coverage could lead to him being included in polls. I mean, Kanye's not on the ballot in a ton of states. In fact, he keeps getting pulled off ballots, but he still is an option on these official polls. So we can just get Jesse Ventura's name on there instead of just the nebulous other category, that would be a good situation. So just generating enough chatter, sending news tips to folks to cover what's going on. That's what I'm doing myself, but it also helps when random people do it too. Things like that. We got to think outside the box, try and get as much attention as possible. In Alaska, they're framing the campaign in an interesting way in Alaska to appeal to Trump voters.
Yeah.
As well as Democrats up there, based off of, a lot of people in Alaska are out there trying to live based off of what they can hunt, what they can fish. Like it's subsistence. It's permaculture style living. So kind of promoting that sort of lifestyle has been something that the Green Party up there is talking about, which is an interesting take.
Well, it's interesting because, Alaska is traditionally a red state. And I know it's only like 4 or 5 electoral votes or something, but I mean, it seems like I bet you there's a lot of, Trump supporters or people who just voted for, who voted for Trump as the lesser of two evils because they just couldn't stand the Clintons, or I'm sure there's a lot of libertarians out there who are like, well, I'll vote for Jesse Ventura, and the sort of, I would imagine that sort of, like you say, kind of live off the land type of folks who are like, I'm done with both these parties, and whatever, like who consider themselves independent or center-right independents or whatever, who, not to mention I'm sure there's a fair amount of super lefty, like sort of environmentalists up there as well, who were like, yeah, let's go for this guy, let's do it. I mean, even if all he did was win 4 electoral votes from one state, that would be huge.
Well, Ross Perot might have won around 20% of the popular vote, but he did not win any electoral votes. So winning a state would actually be something historic. And that he's on the ballot there for the Green Party also means it does help out the Green Party of Alaska moving forward with ballot access efforts. So it's not like it's a loss for them. I consider that nice. And
no, I think too what it does is it brings national attention to their party, and probably brings attention from residents of Alaska who didn't really know or consider or think about the Alaska Green Party. And now they're like, oh, and it probably, and this is the thing I talk about so much on this show, there's such a focus on the president. Okay, but what if the Alaska Green Party now starts getting some local candidates on the ballot in their state legislature?
Folks that are interested.
Mm-hmm. And all
Jesse Ventura, why not?
Why not? So I'm going to run for state legislator in Alaska. I'm going to run for the Senate seat in Alaska, or one of the congressional seats or whatever. So that's huge. And that's the thing I keep talking about. And that's the thing I wish the Green Party would focus on more from just a national level, is like telling all their local chapters to focus on getting Greens on city councils, on state legislatures, and eventually into the House and Senate, because that's how you can make real change. And especially like as we sit here in the state of California, which is completely on fire, and you've got, you know, Gavin Newsom was, oh, it's climate change, and the signs, you know, fracking permits and all of this other nonsense. You know, he's so awful. And I see people like dumb vote any blue will do people on social media going, don't vote Republican, we got to end climate change. And it's like, yeah, the Republicans are flat out climate change deniers, but the Democrats say they care about climate and then do nothing for it, or they flat out take money for it, or they open up fracking like Gavin Newsom has done. So that's another reason, like, Greens or People's Party or anybody that gives a damn about the environment and isn't taking corporate money. Imagine if we overtook California's state legislature with Greens or People's Party or just independents or libertarians and got rid of these awful people like Newsom and Pelosi, and
even just city councils.
Yes.
LA City Council, San Francisco, Oakland.
It's why where not? It needs, why not? It addresses the defund the police issue. It helps with climate change. Like the city of Los Angeles passed a Green New Deal, and it made news in the papers. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then you read into it, and it's more just corporate nonsense. That's because that's who Garcetti and the city council is. I mean, Jackie Lacey will not prosecute LAPD. She's a Democrat. She's a black woman, and she's awful. I mean, that's the Democratic Party. And I'm sure she's got a bunch of, you know, rainbow flag Trump's bad banners or whatever the hell, but she doesn't, when it push comes to shove, they're just as bad, if not worse, because they're lying. At least the Republicans just say, we're evil, we're awful, we're horrible, and this is why we're horrible. And I love
that tweet that was going around the other day where it was like, the people, defund the police, Republicans, no, Democrats, no, hashtag BLM, and then a rainbow flag.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
was perfect.
Oh, well, they did hashtag BLM, so they must be good.
It's all good. We painted the streets. That's all that matters,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, sweet.
Well, it's like all these, you know, Washington, Oregon, and California, which are on fire, and also Seattle, Portland, LA, San Francisco, where all the huge riots and protests. These are all democratically controlled cities and states. 100%. Yep. And this is what you get with neoliberalism. You get states on fire. You get out of control police departments. You get all this crap. And so I hope people wake up to this. Well, Richard, again, thank you for taking your time and you're keeping us up to date on this issue. Tell everybody again where to go, what website to go to, and what your social media handles are.
Oh yeah, so everybody, you can follow us for more updates at people4Jesse on Twitter, and be sure to go to draftjesse.com, sign up for our newsletter for calls to action. Check out the ballot access page, especially if you're from California. We're recruiting electors right now to get him approved write-in access. We need 55, and we'll cover your shipping. We'll help you find a notary. We'll make it work.
Nice. And also I want to add to everybody out there, even if you're in a state that doesn't allow write-ins or whatever, you should then lean on your local Green, Libertarian Party, whatever, to put Jesse on the ballot in your state, because that's a way to circumvent all this and just do what Alaska did. They just went boom and it happened. So there's a lot of work for everybody to do, and not just in California, in all of these states.
The other day, Howie was quoted on a stream, or maybe it was an old clip. Somebody responded to me recently on Twitter saying that it's not him who can give the nomination, it's the people of the Green Party. So people of the Green Party, let's make some noise. And maybe we could make some swaps.
I love it. I love it. Well, Richard, thank you so much for taking time out today and all the work you're doing. Everybody go to draftjesse.com. It's a great way to get involved.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. Thanks for having us on.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, take care.